an idea that I think is a little bit fun to think about is, what would my net worth be if I added everything up that I own? How much would that be worth? If I took all the money that I have in the bank, all the money that I have in my wallet, if I saw how much my computer would be worth if I were to sell it, if it was worth $100 or $200, I would add that in, and I add it all up, that would be my total amount that I'm worth, or in the case of a balance sheet, we would call that my assets. Assets. And like I said, assets are, well, obviously cash. Anything that's in your wallet that you can go buy ice cream with or something would be one of your assets. Anything in the bank, in a savings account or a checking account, you can change that into cash, so it's equivalent. It's an asset. And also securities and bonds and whatever else you can think of. They have economic value for you. Also, like I said, my laptop, or my clothes, or anything that I could potentially sell to turn into cash, that would be an asset. And my house, if I own my house, then that is an asset to me. Or even if I'm just living with someone else, then it's an asset in that I get to use it, and I don't have to freeze outside in the cold. So if I were to add all them up, that would be my asset portion of my balance sheet. And the other thing that we need to look at is the liabilities. Liabilities. And I wrote that in red because they are seen to be bad, or they are the negative to the assets. Liabilities are anything that I owe other people. So even just as simple as I borrowed $5 from my friend last week because I forgot to bring my wallet to the movies. Movies probably cost more than that, but let's say my friend lent me a few dollars, then that would go on my liabilities side, and I would have to subtract that from my total net worth, because I'm worth everything that I own minus the stuff that I owe to other people. That isn't part of my net worth. So if I were to draw up a balance sheet, I'll do it in this color, a neutral color. So if I were to draw up a balance sheet, and they're usually not done graphically, they're just a sheet of paper, but I like seeing the graph. I like seeing the sizes of the things. I like seeing my assets. So let's say for simplicity's sake, let's make up a scenario for me because I don't want to tell you all of my actual circumstances. Let's say that I have $250,000 in the bank. $250,000. Excuse me. So that would be, in our simple scenario, let's say that's the only asset I have. Draw a line down the middle to separate. $250,000 is my complete assets. And then if I have no liabilities at all, then what am I supposed to write at all? Or what am I supposed to write on this side? If I have no liabilities whatsoever, I don't owe anybody anything, well then my equity is said to be this. And the way we get that is we say equity, which is pretty much another way of saying net worth. Equity is everything that I own, everything that I'm made of financially, is equal to my assets minus my liabilities. And I think that makes sense. If I take everything that I own and subtract anything that I owe to anyone else, or anything that I'm borrowing, or anything that doesn't truly belong to me, then I'm left with how much I actually own. This is what I'm able to use right now, but this is what I actually can lay claim to, and no one can ever take it away from me like they would a liability. So this is the very simple equation for finding your equity. So on this example balance sheet, I have my assets of $250,000, and my liabilities are zero. I wrote this I wrote a big 0 here, but actually this is an equity 0. Sorry. This is, the liabilities are 0, meaning that this entire area is my equity. So this entire block is $250,000, and that's my equity. I think I'll get rid of that 0, it's a little confusing. I will just say, I don't know why I scrolled, I'll just say that my equity is equal to $250,000, which is equal to my assets, and that my liabilities are equal to 0. I'll write it that way. So let's say, in a new balance sheet, in a new example, continuing from this example, let's say I wanted to buy a house, and so I borrowed money from the bank to buy a house. So I'll draw, see, this is the house that I want. It's not that big, but it's worth $1 million. $1 million. And the way to kind of measure the value of a house is how much are the houses around it selling, similar houses in a similar location. And they're all selling for about $1 million, and that's what I think is a fair price, and I like the house, so I decided to buy it. So I go to the bank, and the bank is going to give me $750,000, which is how much I need to buy the house. So, just to keep the continuity, I'll draw a little bank here with a money symbol. And I need to draw myself, because I am an actor in this little story. So the bank gives to me $750,000, and then I can then go buy the house. But I'm going to draw my intermediate balance sheet first. I'm going to draw this out in that same color. So similarly, I'm going to have liabilities on the left and assets on the right, which is sort of the convention for this, separated down the middle. So what are my assets now? Think about this. What are my assets? I had $250,000 in cash. That was what I already had, either in my checking account or in my wallet. I wouldn't want that in my wallet. So I already had $250,000, and I just got $750,000 more. So now I have 1 million. 1 million in cash, or cash equivalent. And my liabilities are still 0 because I haven't actually bought the house yet, which means that my equity, I'll do it in my equity purple color, equity, I did not switch colors, is also $1 million. Not much changed. Equity is still equal to my assets because I still don't have any liabilities. Liabilities equals 0 in this scenario still. So let's move to the next frame, the next snapshot of my situation. And in this scenario, I did buy the house. I went and gave the owner of the house 1 million $1 bills, or something equivalent, a check for $1 million. And so now in this situation, what is my asset? And the way I phrased that might have given it away. I only have one asset now. I gave away every single one of my dollars, but in exchange, he gave me one house. And I'll draw some arrows. I gave him $1 million, and he gave me the house, or the deed to the house, as it would actually be. So now my asset is a house. I have a place to live, but I have no money to buy food or anything else. For some reason I thought that was a good idea. So now what is my liability? Or what are my liabilities? Well, my liabilities didn't really change. I exchanged my assets a little bit. I traded my cash for a house on the asset side, but I still owe the bank $1 million, or $750,000. You know what? I just realized I made a mistake back here. I need to slide back over to this one. My equity wasn't $1 million. I was wrong when I said that. Forget that. Put that out of your mind. My liabilities went up when I got the money from the bank. Because like I said, anything that anyone lends you is a liability. So my liabilities were the $750,000. Which means that about 3/4 of this box, the top 3/4 of my balance sheet, are my $750,000 of liabilities. Meaning that my equity down in this little corner, this little corner here, is equal to $250,000. And the reason that that makes sense is because this entire top portion is just money that the bank gave me. I used to have $250,000 down here for my assets. I used to have $250,000 in equity. This is just this. If we were to shrink this down, it would fit right here, and then this new chunk at the top is what the bank gave me. So I wrote that one wrong. I apologize. So moving to my new one. As I said, the asset part changed from cash to a house. It used to be 1 million cash. Well, 1 million is this entire box. $1 million cash changed into one house. And my $750,000 in liabilities is still there. And my equity is still $2,500 or $250,000, because this top chunk, like I drew over here, this top big box is just a loan from the bank. It doesn't affect my net worth. It doesn't affect my net value on my balance sheet because it isn't really mine. I gained it, I have it, I can use it, but I also need to give it back. So my equity stayed exactly the same from beginning to end, even on my corrected versions. It was $250,000. Then when I got the money from the bank, it stayed at $250,000, even though my assets went way up. I had a lot more money. In this first snapshot, I didn't have enough money to buy a house. In this second one, I did. I had $1 million here, and then by the end of it, I have a house. So I have gained some benefit of having a house, but my net worth is still $250,000.